Hi, it's Carolina with Always Expect More, and today I'm going to show you how easy it is to make accurate half-square triangles. Ready? Let's get started. When making a half-square triangle block, there's a lot of different methods you can use. The trickiest thing about a half-square triangle block is that you have a seam that goes directly across the bias. And why is this important? Because the bias has stretch. Fabric stretches a little bit this way and a little bit this way, but it stretches a whole lot across the bias. And when you're doing things across the bias, you need to be extra careful. So this way of doing half-square triangle blocks keeps the square intact until we've already stitched, and that prevents any stretch across the bias and keeps our quilt as square as possible. We're going to cut two 7.5-inch squares of two different colors of fabric. It's great if you have some good contrast. I have a dark fabric and a light fabric for my contrast here. On the back of your light fabrics, draw a line with some kind of marking pen. My favorite would be a chalk marker or a water erasable pen. Line up your ruler from one corner all the way to the other. And give it a really good mark. Sometimes as these pens get older, they dry up a little bit. Running the pen along twice or 3 times gives you a nice dark mark. Place your light square that has the mark on top of your dark square. You're going to want the right sides of the fabric to be facing each other. Line up your two squares and bring to your sewing machine. You're going to want to stitch a 1/4 inch from the line on each side. You can actually stitch just in slightly from a 1/4 inch. If this seam allowance right here isn't exactly a 1/4 inch, it's better to have it a little less than a little more. To ensure that my seam allowance is a little less, I actually line up the edge of my presser foot on the outside of that blue line instead of on the inside of it. Once you've stitched on both sides, you can cut your triangles apart right on that line. You can use a rotary cutter, or if you're more comfortable, you can absolutely use scissors. Then we're going to press them, pressing the seam allowance towards the dark. Our finished block is going to be 12 inches. So that means before the block goes into the quilt, it needs to be 12.5 inches so that it has a 1/4 inch seam allowance on all sides. In order to make that happen, each of these 4 needs to be 6.5 inches square to fit into the quilt. That might be a lot of math I just threw at you. You can go ahead and trust me. We're trimming this down to 6.5 inches square. I like using a 6.5 inch square ruler to do this. It has a nice line right across the middle that I can use to line up. You'll notice that in this sewing and pressing, my block got pulled a little bit out of square, and that's okay. We cut our squares initially large so that we'd have a little bit of extra to trim away. This trimming takes a little more time and uses a teeny bit more fabric, but it's so worth it to have super accurate blocks when we're done. When you're trimming, you might be tempted to trim this side towards you, but it's never a good idea. Go ahead and pull away your fabric, flip your block, and trim the right way. It might seem faster in the short run, but in the long run, a trip to the emergency room never speeds up quilting. All these trimmings are really just garbage, but if you find a creative use for them, let us know in the comments below. Half-square triangle blocks are really fun because they're so versatile. I like a pinwheel style. There we go. Basic pinwheel. No matter what design you choose, we're going to take our top 2 blocks, stitch those together, our bottom 2 blocks, stitch those together, and then stitch our top and bottom rows together. We're going to go ahead and press in one direction. It really doesn't matter which direction you press, but if you press one towards the left, you'll want to press the other towards the right so that you'll be able to nest your seams when you're all done. We're going to go ahead and stitch our final seam. If you see, we have a lot of seams coming together right here in the middle. And if you really want your quilt to look perfect, getting that point perfect will make you super happy. If you don't get it perfect, it's okay. By the time the whole quilt is finished and quilted, no one's going to notice. But if you nest these seams and you look super close at where everything matches up, and when you stitch, you get your needle right here where these stitches come together, you'll get spot on or at least super close. I'm going to peek one last time to see that all those seams are coming together. All right, let's see how I did. Open it up. Hey, that's not bad at all. Now when we finish pressing, we can either press all of our seams in one direction or all of our seams in the other direction, or to prevent bulk, since we see this seam is going in this direction and this seam is going in that direction, we just spiral our seams around, open up the center, and that reduces some of our bulk right here in the middle, spreading out the load across both sides. And now our 4 half square triangles block is all complete. That wasn't so hard, was it? Be sure to follow us for more quilting updates. Leave any questions or comments below, and thanks for watching.